Okay. Okay, good morning. Welcome, everybody. This is our first Zoom forum meeting of this academic year for the Parent Care Forum. We may have some new people joining us this morning, so I'd like to do a little presentation just to introduce you to the work of the Parent Care Forum first, and then we're going to have two presentations, one from the Information, Advice and Support Service, often referred to as IASS, you may have heard that. And we're also going to be joined by the Cheshire and Warrington Carers Trust, and they're going to be talking about their service as well. If you'd like to ask any questions during the meeting, could you use the chat? If you just move your cursor down to the bottom of the screen, this is how it looks on my screen anyway, so hopefully it looks like that on everybody else's. A little bar kind of pops up with all the different things like mute and stop video on the left, and then in the middle there's the chat that you can click on, and you can type questions in there, and whoever's speaking will answer questions. But we can also put links and things in there, so if anything pops up during the meeting in the chat, just keep an eye out on that, because it might be useful for everyone. Okay, shall we start with my little PowerPoint, Sarah? I think you're going to share your screen, so you're like my glamorous assistant this morning, changing the slides. So I'm Vanessa Uzai. I'm the co-chair of the Parent Care Forum in Cheshire West and Chester. Okay, next slide, Sarah. So here we have a little kind of flow chart of how the Parent Care Forum is funded. So we actually get a grant from the Department of Education. You can see in the left-hand corner there. We are part of what's called the National Network of Parent Care Forums. So all over England, there are other groups like ours who do similar work, and we all receive this grant from the Department for Education. You might want to have a look at the website for the NNPCF. They tend to work on national issues, and they will keep in touch with us, and we sometimes get involved in those kind of national things that are going on as well. If you move across, it goes to Contact, which is a charity for families of disabled children and young people. Contact support us with our finances by managing that grant that we get from the Department for Education. So every year we have to apply for the grant, and then at the end of each year we have to show how we've spent it, and they kind of keep control of that process. So then if you keep going round, we've got Cheshire West and Chester, the local authority, and then we've got the new name for our NHS partners, which is the Cheshire West Integrated, I can't see it, Integrated, it's disappeared on my screen. I just can't read the word, Sarah. Is it? Sorry. Who can help me out on what the acronym is?
It's the Integrated Care Board, isn't it? I
That's
think
the Integrated Care Board. I just can't see the word.
No, I've got the pictures as well over it.
Yeah. Right, so that is just the new name for our local NHS board. So it's taken a little bit of getting used to calling it that, but that's what it is, as you can see, if I remember. And then you've got us, so we're the Parent Care Forum for Cheshire West and Chester. So we work together with the NHS, with the local authority, and the whole purpose of our role in the local area is to design services along with these partners to get the best outcomes for our children and young people. And you can see some super pictures there in the middle of Josh, who is our other co-chair, Jules, his little boy. He's a big boy now, he's 17, I think, but yeah, it just brings it you know, to the forefront why we're doing this. So next slide, please, Sarah. So this is our little flyer, and it just describes, you know, what we do. So we hold free events, and they are an opportunity to come along and meet other parents and carers, meet the team of volunteers at the Parent Carer Forum, and talk to people who work within SEND in the local area. So we have lots of links with people who work for the NHS, people who work in education, social services, and they support us at these events by coming along and talking to parents and listening to parents. We usually set it up so that it's quite informal, with you know, plenty of opportunities to chat over coffee and lunch. So you can read through our aims there. We've got to be the voice of as many parents, carers as possible, to influence decisions about gaps in services. We also do signposting. We always have a marketplace at our events with lots of little stalls where people come and share information about their organisations, whether it's from the third sector, so voluntary organisations, or whether it's different services within the local authority and the NHS. And the idea is that if we work together, parents, carers, and those people providing services, then we can get the best services possible and the best outcomes for our children and young people. Okay, Sarah, can we have the next slide? Thanks. So what do the Parent Care Forum do? So we do represent the voice of families. We are led by volunteers. So everyone in the Parent Care Forum is a volunteer, apart from Sarah, who we employ to do our administration and lots of other things as well. And we do signpost families to relevant third sector organisations. So we are not, unfortunately, a support group. However, I would say that people do find that when they come along to events or when they meet other parents and professionals, they do feel supported and they do find support. But we are not officially a support group, and that's not really our purpose. And we don't work for the local authority. We're entirely independent, but we don't campaign. So we don't get involved in working against any of the organisations that we link with, because that's not really our purpose. We're funded by the Department for Education, so we want to work to support each other, and you know, not be in any kind of conflict. Okay, next slide. That's just quite a busy chart of who we've got involved, but I think it just shows how we try to kind of organise ourselves. So we've got our team, co-chairs, secretary, treasurer, and then we've got our volunteers down at the bottom. You can see it says PCF. Those are the names of the volunteers that sit on our parent management group. Most of them attend our steering group meetings as well, which is where we decide what we're going to focus on and what kind of work we're going to try to do together. And we've split it up into those different areas. So we've got health, social care, education, we've got communications, schools, third sector, and I can't read the other one on the side there. I need to minimize my little, there we go, commissioning, sorry. And those are the professionals that we're currently working with. Those people do change over time. In fact, I can see a couple that have probably changed recently as well. And we're always looking to try to increase the number of people that we link with. And we've got a really strong group of people, though, who support us. Okay, next slide, please, Sarah. So how do we capture parents' voice? So as well as our forums where we meet in person, we do carry out surveys. Sometimes they're mini surveys on a specific topic. And every couple of years, we do a big survey with loads of questions covering all kinds of topics. And that helps to identify the areas that we really need to focus on and where there are any issues that lots of people are having. We also have focus groups. It's been great since COVID. Obviously, we've got used to using Zoom and Teams. So it's been really easy to arrange little focus groups where people can come together to share their experiences of topics. So we've had like transport focus group, we've had wraparound care focus groups, we've looked at complex healthcare, things like that. Working parents have come and had a focus group one evening. We also have school reps, so we've been really working hard to try and increase the number of school reps that we have in different schools all across the borough. They meet together as well on Zoom or in person, and we have a WhatsApp group where we share information and ask questions, things like that. And then obviously the forums, which are the 3 big events that we have during the academic year, which are an opportunity to meet face to face. Okay, next slide, please, Sarah. This is our new flyer for this year that has just been sent for printing, so you might see some of these around hopefully soon. And it's just a really, really powerful graphic of all the work that we did last year. Lots of numbers there to show, you know, the growth in the membership, how many new school reps we've got, things like there's some links on there for our YouTube channel, which was new last year. And last year, for the first time in a long time since kind of pre-COVID, we set up some kind of informal coffee events as well. So yeah, it's just really interesting to see all of those numbers. I think it just shows how much work is going on behind the scenes and how many parents we're reaching. Always hoping, obviously, and we'll look at these numbers again at the end of this year to see an increase in those numbers, so we can compare. Next slide, please, Sarah. So last year, the local authority was inspected by Ofsted. It was quite lucky that we'd just done our survey at that point. At the end of 2021, we carried out our big survey, and we'd just about finished analysing all of that data and putting together a report, and that really helped with the inspection process, because the Parent Carer Forum were invited along to lots of meetings with the inspectors to share, you know, the experiences of parents and carers. So it was great to have all of that data and to be able to represent parents and carers. Next slide, please, Sarah. Thank you. So those were some of the key themes from the survey, and you can see this was our report on the right there, where we kind of looked at those overall themes, and then we were able to find bits in the Ofsted report as well, where they referred to the data that we'd been able to share with them. So it was really powerful, really. We had 540 respondents, and yeah, identified some areas that we are still working on. So you can have a look at this on our website. As I was saying before, we're trying to share everything on the website so that people can look at it in their own time, but it's quite interesting to look at those areas that were identified. Okay, next slide, please, Sarah. Focus groups, I was talking about those before, that we've been holding online. So working parents, we've tried to have some evening groups to try and make it accessible for working parents. Complex care, preparation for adulthood, all of those different themes. Anything that seems to be raising its head as an issue that parents have been contacting us about or chatting to us about at meetings, we can kind of organise a small focus group where we can talk to people about their experiences and then go back to those professionals that work in those areas and tell them what's happening and how people are feeling. So quite powerful. Okay, next slide. That's all of our events that we've planned for the year ahead. Again, this is the reverse side of that flyer that has just gone to be printed. So we'll be sharing those very shortly when we're out and about. You can see we've got in-person events, one in Vickers Cross in Chester, Hertford, Ellesmere Port. So we're trying to, you know, move around so that different people from different areas get to come along. And then we've got our virtual events, which again are recorded, so they're there for everyone, you know, at their leisure. And then we've got our coffee events. We've not popped the dates on there yet, but they will be on our website, and we'll be sharing them on our newsletter as well. So hopefully people will be able to pop along to those as well. Okay, thanks, Sarah. I think, is there one more? Or, oh yeah, school reps. I just thought I'd pop up a slide to show how many different schools we've got reps in. So all of the special schools, I think now, I believe we've got a rep, and we've also got several parents representing mainstream settings as well. Be nice to have some more nurseries and colleges. So if anybody watching this is interested in being a rep for their school or college or nursery, then you can just drop us a line, and we'll have a chat about how that works. But it's basically sharing information that we send you, you share with your setting, and then they hopefully pass that on to all of the parents there. And then the other way around as well, whatever is going on in your school or college or nursery, you can tell us about that, and then we can look for similar experiences and whether there's something that we can work on to improve things if they're not going so well. Okay, thanks, Sarah. So we've got our website, we've got our YouTube channel. I mentioned before, we're on Facebook. You can email us. We've also got a phone as well, so you can take down that number. And if you sign up on our website, there's a little button at the bottom where you can sign up for our monthly newsletters. And they, you know, keep you up to date with what's going on as well. Hey, Sarah. I think it's the last one. Yes, I've made it. So thank you very much for listening to all of that. Hopefully it wasn't too much information. I am going to be quiet now and pass over to, I don't know who would like to go first. Is it Liz or Sandra from Information Advice and Support Services to tell us a little bit about what they do?
Yes, thank you, Vanessa. That was really interesting, and Parent Carer Forum are obviously doing lots of great work in getting the views of parents and carers into the local authority to try to bring about, well, just to have their voice heard and bring about changes that are needed and make the local authority aware of where parents and carers are struggling. So that's you're doing great work.
And it's like really interesting to hear how you're developing year on year. Yes. Really, now it's growing. Yeah, it's really,
it really is.
It's I think that flyer that Joe Southall has made for us with all of those numbers, you know, it's really powerful seeing it all written down.
Very impressive. It really is.
Thank you.
Okay, so Liz and I are from Information Advice and Support Service. It says CWaC on the slide. So that's Special Educational Needs and Disability Information Advice and Support Service. And I wasn't going to talk, or we weren't going to talk about this, but listening to how Parent Carer Forum is funded, I'll just give a very, very quick overview of how Information Advice and Support Service are funded. So Information Advice and Support Service it sits within the local authority. We are part of Cheshire West and Chester Council in this area, but across the country, across England, this is approximately 50% of services sit within the local authority, and about half are operated and run by charities. So, for example, on the Wirral, the Information Advice and Support Service there is operated by. Actually, I think the charity has changed. Do you know who it is, Liz?
No, but I know some across the country are Barnardos. I think some of them in Liverpool.
They are,
They're all-
the Together
yeah,
Trust and lots of, you know, either very small charities and some are bigger. So the funding to run information, advice and support services provided by the government through the Council for Disabled Children. When I say the government, I mean the Department for Education. And that grant is in Cheshire, West and Chester, is paid to the local authority, and that's how they fund our service. So yeah, that's just giving you a quick overview of how our service is funded, and how I can talk. I'm going to talk in a minute about the reason why we exist. But firstly, Liz is going to tell you how our team is, who is in the team, and our names.
I think it's important to point out as well that we do work at an arm's length from the local authority. So we have separate databases, separate everything. So we are on our own, really. Yeah. Part of the council. Yeah. Okay. So just going on to this, if Sarah could go on to the second slide, please. Yeah. This is just our team. Yeah. As you can see, it's quite a small team. Joanna Davis is our team manager. Some of us, not all of us, are full-time in the team. So we have quite a lot of queries to deal with. So it's pretty busy. So Sandra covers the Ellesmere Port side, Ellesmere Port and Neston. Myself and Rachel cover Chester and rural. Annalise and Anne-Marie cover the Winsford and Northwich area. Layla, Mickey and Gemma are our amazing business support officers, absolutely amazing. So when parents actually first contact the information advice and support service, either by email or phone, it's Gemma or Layla all pick those queries up. And so once they've dealt with those queries, they'll then allocate it to one of the team. So going on to, I think it's, section... The next slide.
Of children. So thanks, Liz. So that the section 19 of the Children and Families Act is the piece of legislation that underpins the existence of information advice and support service. So this act was introduced in 2014, and it replaced previous legislation from 2001. So some of you may have heard of the SEN, Special Educational Needs and Disability Code of Practice. So within that, Chapter 2 explains the duties placed on local authorities in providing an information advice and support service in their local authority. And this section 19 of the Act, of the Children and Families Act, says that local authorities must have regard, there's no if, buts or maybes, they must have regard to the views, wishes and feelings of the child or young person and their parents, and the importance of those groups participating as fully as possible in decisions, being provided with information and support necessary to enable parents and carers and children and young people to make decisions, and the need to support children and young people and parents to facilitate the development of those children and young people to help them achieve the best possible educational and other outcomes, preparing them effectively for adulthood. So, yes, in Chapter 2 of the Code of Practice, it talks about, and I've got the Code of Practice in front of me, so I'll just give you a brief resume of what it says information advice and support service must provide. So the information should be provided at arm's length. So even though we sit within the local authority and the local authority employ us, we are the only service within the local authority who sit at arm's length. And that enables us to support parents and carers and children and young people without there being a conflict of interest we are here to provide information about what the law says in terms of the local authority's duties towards children and young people and in meeting their needs, and to provide information to parents about what they can and what they can't ask for, and what the protocols are within Cheshire West and Chester. So we also must provide a confidential service. So anything that a parent shares with us, we would not share with anybody else, either within the local authority or outside of the local authority, unless the parent asked us to do that, because it was going to facilitate them moving forward with whatever the issue is. So that's an absolute requirement for us, that arm's lengthness and impartiality and confidentiality. So information, advice and support, our service is free, and we have a duty to make our service known to parents and carers, and we do that through the local offer. We have a web page on the local offer, which gives lots of information about us, and we have a number of fact sheets on that web page, which parents may find useful in terms of understanding the law and how to prepare for a meeting, a school meeting, etc., etc.
We haven't got a website yet, have we, Sandra?
We haven't got a website, no.
It's on the wish list. It's on the wish list. So,
yeah, the other point I wanted to make, sorry, I was just looking at the code, is that we hope to promote an independence and to empower parents to feel confident in having their voice heard. So it isn't a case of us taking over when a parent contacts us and doing everything for them. We have our duty in terms of the SEN Code of Practice is to help parents to feel more confident, and knowledge is power, isn't it? So usually when we explain what the law says, a parent, and how SEN funding works in school and what the local authority's duties are, that helps a parent to feel more confident in, for example, asking for more support for their child. And yes, a parent may feel intimidated in a meeting, so we have a criteria for those cases where we provide support at meetings for parents. So next slide, please. Is that your slide, Liz?
Oh yeah, sorry, it looks a bit different from my stuff. Yeah,
Yes.
so you're sorry about that. Like I say, I'm getting used to Zoom. Yeah, sorry, backwards. Sorry, Sarah. Yeah. Yeah, focus of our work. Yeah, I mean, Sandra's covered a lot of it in her little talk before and her slide. But yeah, so our main aim is to really help parents so they're able to, and young people so they're able to make informed decisions and ultimately empower them to be involved with the decision making process. So our service is confidential, impartial, etc. And I suppose our aim is that by providing relevant and up-to-date information and advice, we are able to increase the parents' knowledge about SEN and about the systems, and hopefully that in turn will empower them so they feel more confident to make those decisions at critical times. We also aim to give children and young people with SEND a voice. So I'm aware, for example, that we have supported young people with applying for an EHC assessment, and have also gathered their views for meetings, an annual review. I know, like I say, we can act as an advocate in a sort of way for young people. So I'm attending a meeting next week on behalf of a young person to actually put her views forward of what she would like in education and what's important to her and the type of education she would like. Yeah, if we could go into the next slide now.
Yeah, can I just say that Liz touched on advocacy for young people then. So we provide an advocacy service for children and young people, but not for parents.
Yeah,
So there is a slight difference there. We will support parents and carers of children and young people to have a voice and to help them through the process. But an advocate is there's a difference between a supporter and an advocate, in that an advocate will write letters for the young person and help more in terms of actually doing things for that child or young person, rather than the support that we give to parents and carers, which is to help them to do those things for themselves, to empower them to have more confidence in their support of their child or their young person. So what can we help with? So a lot of our work at the moment is supporting parents and carers in resolving disagreements, especially decisions that have been made about education, health and care plans, be it where parents have applied for a plan and that's been refused, or whether a plan has been published and the parents disagree with the contents of the plan in terms of description of their child's needs and provision, and especially section I, which is the section of the plan that names the school setting where the child's needs can be met. And Liz will support me with this, we are receiving a lot of requests for support where parents are challenging the school that's been named in their child's plan. We can help with explaining to parents about how SEN support is provided in schools and how the funding for that support works. So, for example, the universal offer, which is element 1, which is the offer of education to all children on school roll, and then SEN support, which is element 2, which is the funding that schools have in their own budget to meet the needs of children who need something different or additional providing in order that their needs are met. And then element 3 is the funding that schools and parents can access either through top-up funding or an education, health and care plan assessment. So we explain that to parents so that they are clearer when they go into a meeting what they can ask for and the route to get the right support for their child. So with education, health and care plans, we can provide advice about the assessment, the application process, and what the legal test is for an education, health and care plan assessment. So the legal test is set out in the Children and Families Act, but local authorities invariably will use a different criteria in order to determine whether an assessment is required. So we can talk a parent through that if they need to challenge a decision not to assess their child for an education, health and care plan assessment. We can explain what all of the sections of a plan mean. It's quite a lengthy document and can be quite overwhelming for some parents when they first look at it. So we endeavour to help parents to understand what those sections mean and how they can look at a plan which has been drafted and decide whether it contains everything that it needs to contain from the reports that have been gathered as part of the assessment. We can explain about annual reviews. How is the plan reviewed? How often is it reviewed? How do health and social care fit into the plan? And we can also explain about personal budgets, how a parent can request, or when a parent can request a personal budget, and what that can look like for their child or their young person. Next slide, please.
How do we help? Right, I'll come on to that now. yeah, as we, usually we have telephone appointments, but with the wonders of technology now, we can also arrange virtual appointments through Teams. We do offer face-to-face meetings with parents if needed, provided it meets our criteria, and I'll come on to that in the next slide. We may arrange to meet in one of our council offices, such as a Portal and Ellesmere Port, or a local library with parents. We also provide support in preparing for and attending meetings. So this could include preparing for an annual review meeting. So we would try and catch up with the parent before the meeting and go through some of the issues and points that a parent may want to raise. And then we could also provide support with an actual meeting. And with the wonders of technology, again, we often do this virtually these days through Teams. With regards to support and guidance in completing forms and writing letters, this could, like as Sandra alluded to before in the previous slide, we could support with completing an EHC assessment request or even drafting a letter to the local authority. Signposting is another big, I suppose, an important part of our job, I would say. And we often signpost to services that might be able to help a parent. So we often do signpost to PCF and other groups, but we also signpost to further information and relevant websites. As you've probably picked up, there's a massive information on send on the internet now. So we sort of try to signpost to really, relevant websites such as IPSI, etc., which is a really comprehensive based information. Next slide, please. As I mentioned before, we do have face-to-face support criteria. Now, as you saw before, we're a very, very small team and not all of us are full-time. So to try and manage our caseloads, we have sort of come up with criteria of when we actually meet parents face-to-face or can meet parents face-to-face. So if a parent is not competent with IT and it's an online meeting, we would meet at a location with our laptop and support parents to join the meeting. I know, I suppose a lot of parents are sort of relying on doing things by phone, and some of the things you're trying to do on phone, like apply for an EHC assessment request, are not easy on a phone. So those are the sort of examples maybe where, having a laptop would be useful. We also, again, it's about parent who has learning disability or difficulties. We'd again arrange to meet face-to-face. A parent with mental health or physical health issues. Extent of communication breakdown or barrier to moving forward. So this could be like, for an example, whether, if there's a communication breakdown with the school and the parent really feels like they need a support at a meeting to actually sort of try and resolve issues or try and look at a way of moving forward. And this is, again, I suppose, similar to this, parent would not be able to participate in the meeting. This, I suppose, could be due to all of the reasons listed above. And a direct support of a young person. So I know a couple of colleagues and I, we supported young people with actually applying for an EHC assessment on their own. So obviously that's quite intensive support, obviously, because the support for a teenager is quite different to maybe the support of a parent. So that takes up, that's quite labour intensive. Okay. Next slide, please.
Thank you. So what can't we do? So we can't offer information, advice or support on issues that aren't linked to special educational needs and disability. So that would include financial matters like applying for DLA, carers allowance. But we would always signpost parents to where they can find that information. We, as Liz said, we signpost frequently to Cheshire and Warrington Carers Trust and other organisations that can help parents with the completion of a DLA application, or provide information about other services that are available either through the local offer or through Contact, previously called Contact a Family. We do a lot of that signposting. We can't offer a counselling service. and inquiries must be based around a question related to SEND. Having said that, when a parent contacts us initially, we will absolutely listen to that parent's story and give them the time to do that. And usually that first conversation with the parent can be for over an hour in some cases. And we would always give the parent time to explain what they need to explain and why they've come to us and where they've reached the point that they are at. We can't deliver emergency support or interventions, and we have our own protocols in terms of the time we tell parents how long it's going to take to get back to them, because when a parent first comes to us, that call or email will be picked up by one of our admin staff, and then they're asked for information which is put on our confidential database, and then that is picked up by the officer for that area. So sometimes parents will come to us. I don't work on a Friday, but a request came in from a parent late on Friday for support at a meeting on Monday morning. So I just couldn't do that because I already had things in my diary for that time. So, but if we can, obviously we will, and I have done in the past. But we have to point out that we can't always provide support at very, very short notice.
We do try and aim to get back to people, don't we, Sandra, within 5 working days? That's our aim.
We do, yeah. And in a lot of cases, I know not at the moment because we're very, very busy at the moment and experiencing lots of requests for support. But, if we're able to get back straight away to parents, we absolutely will. But sometimes, it's usually a maximum of 5 working days. Yes, thank you, Liz. So we wouldn't offer to automatically complete paperwork for a parent. We use our discretion based on the individual needs of the parent on a case-by-case basis, and that goes back to that requirement for us to empower parents so that they feel confident that they're participating in helping their child to get support. We wouldn't act as an intermediary between the parents and other professionals unless we have the permission of the parent to do that. So we would always, obviously it's a given that a relationship between a parent and their child's school, if that's a positive relationship, that's always going to benefit the child and the parent. So we endeavour to help the parent, if a relationship has broken down, to get that relationship back on track. And sometimes, but we're guided by the parent. Obviously, sometimes that isn't possible. And if the parent wants to make a formal complaint, we'll support them to do that. And we do that. And we don't take referrals from other professionals unless the parent has a barrier to accessing us. So if the parent has a disability themselves or a learning difficulty, we would, for example, we do get a lot of family support workers contacting us directly, asking us, can we contact a parent? But we would only do that if the parent had any of those issues that I've just described. And the reason for that is because the parent needs to, it shouldn't be a case of the family support worker thinking, well, I think this parent will benefit from support from information, advice and support service, but the parent doesn't understand what we do, who we are, etc. The parent needs to understand that and want us to support them. The parent may not want us to support them. So that's the reason why we would always want the parent to make that contact, that initial contact with us. And obviously, if it's not possible, we would ask the family support worker to support the parent to make that call to us, so that we can explain to the parent exactly who we are, what we do, and how we can help them. Thank you. Next slide.
So here we are. We're at the end.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I think we've overrun. I'm terribly sorry. Yeah, those are our contact details. That's the email address, telephone number, which is how you contact us, and those are our times. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Liz and Sandra. That was brilliant, very detailed, and that's going to be a great resource for us to be able to, share with people who come and ask, for more information about what IASS do. So thank you very much. I'm going to speed ahead and introduce Nicola and Laura from Cheshire and Warrington Carers Trust. Thank you both for joining us. I'll let you get started straight away because we're a little bit short of time now. But yeah, if anybody's got any questions, just a reminder to pop them in the chat. I don't know if Liz and Sandra, are you able to stick around in case anybody has a question for you in the chat? That would be great. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right, Nicola and Laura, I'll hand it over to you. Sarah is going to move your slides ahead when you're ready. Just give her a nod and she'll do that. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. So I'm Nicola McCall. I'm a parent care support worker, quite new to the role. I've moved from one role in Cheshire East and I've moved over to the Cheshire West side where I cover Northwich and Winsford in support of my colleague Natalie, who's now covering the Chester area. So obviously I'm the one that runs the groups in Winsford and Northwich and obviously supporting parents, as I think somebody mentioned earlier, with a variety of things such as DLA and emotional support, as well as the groups.
And I'll just introduce myself. I'm Laura Holden. I'm the operations manager. I used to be our parent carer lead. I've sort of moved on from that now, managing all the services, but so I have got involvement in parent carers. And if anyone's got any questions, I can answer them as well. So it's a bit of a baptism of fire for Nicola. So first, she was like, "You do it."
So yes, please be kind and gentle. So obviously, these are the people that are obviously funders on the left-hand side. Obviously, Cheshire West and Chester, we work quite closely with the councils. Some of the funding comes obviously from the NHS as well as the main umbrella of the Cheshire West Care Support. That supports a lot of the Making Carers Count, which is what my role falls under. Okay. So if you could move the slide over, sorry, I'm at. So we are the lead provider of the Cheshire West Care Support Service. So we work across Cheshire and Warrington. Obviously, so we do cover Cheshire East as well as Cheshire West. We do work in partnership with obviously local organisations, like I mentioned before, that are obviously named on here, to obviously try and deliver the best packages as we can for parent carers.
Just to chip in there though, obviously you can see some of the partners. We are an all age carers service, so that's why we've got partners like Alzheimer's Society and Making Space and that sort of thing.
We do cover a lot. Cover a lot. And like I said before, obviously our funders include the local authorities, Smart Energy. We are funded with some of the lottery funding as well, and we've had obviously help and support and funded through the NHS. Do you want to?
No, that's good. Yeah, there we go.
See, the carer definition, I think a lot of people do get a little bit confused and don't quite know if they class themselves as a carer. So obviously, we've put obviously this on here. A carer is a person who looks after a family member, partner, friend who needs help because they have an illness or a disability, a mental health issue, addiction, and they cannot cope without their support. Carers are unpaid. Obviously a lot of people do get a bit confused thinking obviously they work in care. Yes, they're a carer, but they're a paid carer and they work in that environment. The carers that we support are unpaid carers and are often obviously the same responsibility, they work or they're someone's spouse or parent. The term carer should not be confused, like I said, with those that are getting paid to do that job because they're employed to do that. These are people that are taking on that extra role, as like I said, as well as being a parent or a partner, spouse, sibling. Even we do have young carers as well. So
and benefits aren't classed as payment as well. That's the other, because some people say, "Oh, I'm not an unpaid carer, I get carers allowance," but it's actually not paid.
No.
So just to clarify that as well.
and I know that, you know, I'm a parent carer myself, and, you know, I work with, there's obviously a lot of us in this organisation that are, a lot of us don't ever see ourselves as a carer, and it can take a long time for us to support parents in seeing that they are a carer. And sometimes when we, you know, we support those carers, they're like, oh, I didn't really see myself as a carer, because I'm just doing it because, well, is that not a normal thing to do? Well, it is, but they have the extra work on top of that, is, you know, somebody that it doesn't need care. So obviously we do support a lot of people in trying to understand that they are a carer on top of their normal role as maybe a spouse or a parent. And that's when obviously we can then obviously signpost and support them in other areas to make sure that they get that support, so they don't, I suppose, fall apart. You know, we meet a lot of people that are struggling being a carer.
Yeah,
that's the next slide. I can't stop myself from doing that. So why should we care about carers? Well, obviously, they are responsible for keeping a lot of things together within the family unit. They enable those that they care for to still have a good quality life. They may, like I said, may not recognise that they're a carer, and that they're unaware of the support that's out there, which I get that with a lot of people I meet. They just look at me and go, I didn't know that was there. I hadn't heard of IASS, I hadn't heard of yourself, I hadn't heard of Parent Carer Forum. And by giving that information to them, it opens a world of information and support, and makes them realise that they're not alone, and that there's a lot of people out there that are classed as an unpaid carer. They are at a massive risk of burnout and illness if they're not supported. Sometimes we do meet carers that are on that verge of breaking point. And by having us there and knowing that there's other support, they have that little bit of weight lifted off their shoulders, and we can obviously can help continue them doing that unpaid role, which then obviously, I suppose, takes a lot of pressure off other services, you know, in the area. Some people like myself and others that, you know, we want to continue in work and paid work. We enjoy it. We want to still continue that, but without the support of obviously ourselves and other services, these people can't continue to work and be an unpaid carer unless these services are in place that we offer.
Next slide. Thank you.
So this is probably a little bit lower than it actually is, but with looking at some of the statistics from 2021, you know, there's approximately around about 5.7 million carers across the UK. 1 in 8 of the UK population provide care to someone in a household or a neighbour or a friend, family member. Some people just start doing it naturally because they're that kind of person, or they you know, like I said, they're the family. But obviously, a lot of people don't, like I said, don't recognise themselves as an unpaid carer. It's just something that they start doing. But by knowing that there's services like ourselves and yourselves out there, means that they can continue that that support for that person.
So, next slide.
So the services that we offer, obviously we have a helpline that runs from Monday to Friday, 9 till 5. People can call in, and obviously that person that takes that call can obviously offer them advice. They can register them over the phone, and then obviously we have ways of communicating to everybody within the team on who that person needs the support from, because like obviously Laura said before, we do a lot of things for carers in employment as well, parent carers of adults. So by taking that call from the helpline means that they can kind of put it on the spreadsheet and the right person picks it up. But it may be that there's 3 or 4 of us involved with supporting that one carer. We have a newsletter, plus obviously a keeping in touch blog, Facebook, things like that, where we can share all of our information, so people know what's going on, what's out there. We have obviously dedicated support groups for parent carers, male carers, and working carers. Just means that people can come along and obviously meet people that are in a very similar situation,
as well as our general
groups that are running alongside that. We have lunch clubs and support groups, like we said. So obviously those dedicated support groups, but we do have other groups as well. We signpost, obviously like IASS does. We try and give people this information when somebody comes to me or comes to anyone and says all these things that they need help with. We try and gather that information so we can say to them, oh, this is where we need to signpost you, and try and support them in that, because it can be quite overwhelming if there's 4 people that we need to signpost them to. We try and support them in that. Obviously, we offer employment support, which obviously, is quite vital for those that are working to try and continue their unpaid caring role, as well as obviously being in a paid job. And we offer support and advice for all carers.
And that does include benefits advice, and advocacy, and a range of other help with form filling and
lots of emotional support as well, listening. It's amazing what we can kind of pull from a person that we're with, just by actively listening to them. And it can open up like a world of support for them by just doing that.
Yeah. Next slide, please. Yeah. So there's a bit more information about all that.
We covered some of this, but obviously we offer one-to-one support and carers benefit advice. So obviously we can meet in a neutral place. We do try and ask them to obviously come to our office if we can, but we do try, like I mentioned from the other services, to kind of overcome any barriers. So if people are struggling, we will go to them. We want to be able to reach everybody. So if someone can't come to our support groups or into our offices, we try and work in other areas as well to make sure we can offer that one-to-one support. And obviously we offer benefits advice and information, just to make sure that they are getting what, hopefully what they're entitled to. We also offer an emergency card for anyone that does have somebody that's relying on them solely as their carer. If anything was to obviously happen to them, then there's a way of having care put in place for that loved one. It takes that pressure off of, oh gosh, what happens if I end up in hospital? And well, the emergency card can obviously, we can put that in place and try and obviously support them to have the care for the cared for, so that carer doesn't have to worry about that.
Next slide, please.
We offer lots of activities, which is really lovely. We are obviously trying to reach out. We listen to what they want and need. If somebody says they just want a cuppa and a chat, we offer that. But then we do have some people that say, oh, I just want to get out and do something a bit more physical with like-minded people. We try and arrange that as well. So we do have some lovely afternoon teas, but we also want to try and kind of do things a little bit more adventurous if that's what they want. So kayaking, arts and crafts. We've had some boat trips which have been really successful as well. So we do try and reach out to everybody's needs and wants. Obviously we can't sometimes, but it is something that we actively listen to what the carers want.
Yeah, we're currently, the carer breaks offer is currently up for, we've just had to put another bid in, so we hopefully will be successful again and get another year of funding for that. But that's a big part of our service, really, carer breaks. A lot of parents access it, and it just gives them time out to do something, within the day when they're available, or in the evening if necessary. I think we have like a cinema club that we can go to at the Story House that we run in partnership with them. So it's just finding nice activities where parents can have a break from being a parent, do something for them, meet other parents as well, and have a chat, and and
a lot of them that they build their own little groups as well. Then so again, that's priceless for them. I think a lot of us know that some of them meet up outside of the things that we do for them, which is really lovely, because obviously they can separate that from other friendship groups when they meet like-minded people that are obviously in a caring role.
Next slide, please.
I'm trying not to do my hand. This is something we do obviously mention quite often. It should be asked, is the GP aware that they are a carer? We do encourage them to register with their doctors as a carer, because it does make the GPs aware that they're not just a parent or a sibling or a partner, that they are also a carer as well. It just means that obviously they can potentially offer support as well if necessary.
But I think most importantly for parents, you probably wouldn't be already entitled to things like the flu jab, but if you registered as a carer, you would be called up for that and be able to have it for free. So I do think amongst parents particularly, it's really important, because it just gives you that little bit of extra protection. Because going back again to what happens if something happens to you, if you fall ill, it's hard enough anyway being a mum or a dad, and you fall ill, you know, it's greatly hard on the
especially if
family,
they've got
isn't it?
another underlying health issue
Yeah.
themselves. Obviously, you know, we know that the NHS, obviously, they do the lists, don't they, in different orders of who gets called up soon. You know, they have the priority list and then they work their way down. It's really important, obviously, if there is a parent carer out there that's got a health condition as well, that it's really important that they get their flu jab sorted out quickly, because if they become unwell, it's not just them that's affected. There's lots of other people then, you know, especially the cared for, that is affected as well. So, you know, some people think, oh no, there's no point, but it's very important that you know, parent carers register as a carer, on, you know, with their GP. So, next slide. I would be answered.
Do you right with this? I don't want me to do.
Yeah. So our funding, the Cheshire and Warrington Carers Trust has funding available to carers upon registration, and obviously with us as a carer, there's different things then that they can become eligible for. In you know, different pots of money that we have, that they can apply for, but we do only allow them to apply every 18 months. As you can probably imagine, there's lots of needs out there, but if we were to allow people to apply for the support, such as, you know, buying a washing machine and things like that. What else is it? There's lots.
If you go on to the next slide, actually,
we can explain it a bit better.
More. So there's the personal budget, which is all around breaks, which is up to usually average award of about £125 for a carer to have a break, or if you can do a joint award with a partner, if it's mum and dad going potentially, that would be £200 for like a breakaway. So it's quite a nice way to get a break from your caring role. Massage, massage or gym membership, that's really popular. We can get a discounted gym membership with Brio as well. And it's also really important to know that even if you don't get the funding through us, if you want to join a Brio leisure club, we can do a carers discount anyway. So just thinking for parents in keen on health and wellness and having some kind of outlet for themselves, we can get you a discounted price on that because of being a carer. They've sort of gone in partnership with us and the council to offer that. So that's the personal budget. So that's all around breaks and taking some time out for yourself. And then next slide, please. The Essentials Fund is all around essential items. So this would be up to £250 for an item that doesn't exceed £400 in total. So it could be towards a new washing machine, as long as the value doesn't exceed £400, or a fridge, freezer, cooker.
Yeah, there are limits with it. I know that obviously, you know, sometimes that we're more likely to obviously take things to kind of like a tumble dryer in the winter, but not in the summer. Not necessarily a lawnmower in the winter, but we're more likely to look at that in the spring or the summer. Because they're the times that we're likely to use them. So the lady that obviously covers that, you know, she is obviously very, you know, inundated with things, but there are obviously restrictions. So we do need to make people aware. It's not guaranteed, but we do try our hardest when it goes to panel that they get these items. So it is looked at. It's got to be an essential item.
I've just seen a chat. Can a carer in receipt of PIP says this? Yes. So this isn't means tested at all. These funds, they're funded by the local authority, and it is. So that's why it does have to be monitored carefully, because it's public money, but it's not means tested. The criteria is that you are a carer, you're registered with our service, and that you haven't had a similar award from us within the last 18 months. So that's it basically. We would obviously keep records, so we would double check on that.
So what evidence do you need to prove you are a carer?
We do. If you are completely unknown to us, we'd usually ask for someone who could verify that you're a carer. So, for example, might be a GP, might be a teacher at school, might be somebody from the Information Advice Service or Parent Carer Forum who's been working with you. You know, a professional who you can put a name down. We don't always check. It's just that extra security measure there to be able to ensure that it's not just a member of the public with a child.
Because we do understand that sometimes people are still going through the process of trying to get DLA and PIP, which is obviously always a very good way of checking that they're a carer. But sometimes people come to us when they're about to start that process, or you know, it may be that we've got evidence of the person that they're caring for's condition, so we can see that, you know, they're a carer.
And you might have been working with us, being supported by us for a long period of time anyway. I think we know, though, the financial situation at the moment is really hard, and we are getting more and more applications, so we do have to have a bit of eligibility sort of checking, but yeah, generally through a conversation you can find out quite easily if someone's just in it for the money, or
Yeah,
a genuine case. Yeah,
we don't want to, obviously, we don't like saying no to people,
No.
but we've got to be very careful, like anyone else that's handing out money for things.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that it is essential, that they really do need this item. They don't just want it because,
and I think that then means apply for the correct fund. If it's for a break, apply for personal budgets. If it's for essentials, apply for this. And then if you do, next slide please, we also have the household support fund, which again is funded by the local authority, and this is funded a little differently, but it's for essential things to support the household. So it could be to do with energy bills, food vouchers, emergency costs. The average payment we award is £200, and the council also have a general household support fund which anybody can apply to. So we do check that they haven't applied to that and received funding from that already. So say somebody who hasn't got a caring role but is in financial difficulty could apply to that, but we obviously can't have someone applying to both parts, so we do double check that. So that's another thing. If it's around sort of fuel poverty and that kind of thing, which is very common at the moment, we would recommend you can apply to that. And it does mean you've still got the essentials fund available and the personal budgets available if you need to apply for those later in the year. So you could potentially get a reasonable amount of funding to support you in your caring role, but you have always got to link it back to your caring role. Why do you need it? Because of your caring role, not just because I want a holiday. That won't be.
And why it helps them. Like I said, obviously we want to reduce that burnout stage, and we want to reduce the stress of people worrying about money situations because it's out of their control. Some people have added extra costs with washing and things like that because of that person they're caring for. That is then added pressure on somebody that is caring for somebody that potentially needs their bedding changed every day without a dryer or a washing machine or extra support with under the household support fund. That caring role will become very, very difficult. That's what we're trying to reduce.
Next slide, please. So there we go. That's it.
So hopefully that wasn't too long for you. So these are obviously all our contact details. Anyone, obviously people can refer in. We do obviously ring them back. Like I said, there's quite a few services that we offer. So we do try and obviously encourage them to obviously contact us on the helpline, or we'll ring them back and just kind of go over things over the phone with them.
Or I've just put in the chat as well our electronic referral form, so professionals and carers can use this themselves if you just want to refer in specifically to the Making Carers Count parent carer service. But just to let you know, we have only got 6 months of this service funded left. It's due to finish at the end of March. We obviously are really heavily applying for other funding at the moment, but we have already met all our targets in terms of the amount of carers we need to support. So we're trying to do more ongoing support and making sure that the people we have been supporting over the last 2 and a bit years for the project are still continuing to get that support. So it might be that we refer newer carers into just the general services funded by the information and advice. So that's why this presentation was a little bit more general about all our services that every carer can access, just because I didn't want to increase a load of new parent carer work that we can't actually keep up with.
For example, some of the parent carer groups that have been running, it's uncertain now whether they'll be able to continue. Is that right?
Well, we've had a little bit of a change in staffing as well, because the project is coming into its last 6 months. We had an opportunity to offer a secondment to Claire Crevand, who a lot of you probably know, who's been working at the Chester office. So we had to take that. She's now from next week, I think it is, from start of half term actually, following week. She's going to be this children and young people strategic lead for Cheshire West Voluntary Action. It was a really exciting opportunity that came up, and she was a perfect person to do it. And it helped us to offer someone another role as we're approaching the last 6 months of our funding. So please don't be worried that she's not going to be in post anymore. We have replaced her work with Natalie, who's a carer support worker in our Chester office already, so she's really familiar with the area. She will be picking up the appointments, and between us, we're going to be using staff who you already know, like myself, and Natalie, and potentially a few others to cover the groups. So they will still be running, but we are running them slightly differently. We're running like a one more in the middle of Ellesmere Port and Chester, and then another outreach group to kind of pick up some work in other areas, more rural areas that we haven't really done much work in. So we've used the time as we approach the last 6 months to just identify where are the gaps been, what do we need to do before we finish the project, just to make sure we've done everything we said we would, which I think is just us being responsible and making sure we've done everything we set out to achieve. Yeah.
And the Winsford groups that I'm obviously trying to get up and running at the moment, what's really lovely is the Sure Starts children's centres were very keen, because it's not something that they've offered in that area for any parent carers, that it was something they were looking at starting themselves, but were quite aware that at the moment didn't have time or resources. So obviously they have said to me, you know, if this is something that obviously is successful and it works, they would like to try and continue that, even if we weren't able to do that.
So
I know myself that I'd probably like
them.
Yeah, so it's lovely that they've been so supportive, the children's centres in Winsford area, that I'm hoping that even if I'd probably happily do it as a volunteer, as a parent carer myself, you know, and go to those sessions, because they are very important. But it's just started. I've just had one of them, and I've got another group next week. They are very keen to hopefully try and continue that, even if it was on a bi-monthly offer, just because they can see that it is so needed.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Liz, Sandra, and Nicola and Laura. It's been brilliant. We really wanted to start this academic year with you guys, because, you know, we get contacted by parents all the time in need of information, support, advice, all of those things, and you all do that brilliantly. And you've done really good presentations this morning, which is so valuable for people to be able to come and have a look at, and for us as well, because we will obviously, you know, absorb all of that information and pass it on to the parents we come across. So thank you so much. You've been brilliant, and thanks for giving up your very, very precious time, because I know you're all so busy. Last thing that I want to say is please come along and join us at our first in-person event in November at Vickers Cross Golf Club. Everyone is welcome. You can sign up via the link on the bottom of the screen there, which is to our website. Keep an eye on the website, please, for events and for information, signposting, all our previous Zoom meetings, as I said at the beginning of this Zoom, will be saved on there so that people can access them at any time. So there's lots of different topics there, you know, that people can go back to and listen to again. And yeah, I just want to say thanks to Sarah as well for running the slideshow brilliantly, and Lucy, our vice chair, has popped a few things in the chat there for people as well, which is really useful. So yeah, please keep in touch, and we'll look forward to working together with you guys during the year ahead, and seeing you hopefully soon in person would be really nice as well. Thanks everyone for joining this morning, and yeah, hope to see you soon.